The feeling when you don't even know what you are feeling. I saw her running away from me, and it incited a tightness in my chest. My stomach churned with an unknown feeling. I wanted to run behind her, but I didn't, as if my feet were tied on spot. My ears perked up, hearing a shrill, irritating laugh from behind. I turned around to find that wicked woman who was my secretary laughing hysterically. "Oh, so sad. Your so called wife is hurt, Mr. Park," she mocked. I really ignored her and pulled out my cell phone from my pocket. I sent a text to someone, but that irritating woman was getting on my nerves with each passing second. "Whom are you texting? Your wife?" "She won't reply. Didn't you see how she ran away crying like a child?" She laughed. I may fail to get the documents, but I did ruin something terminal. I formed my jaw as I tried to control the bubbling anger inside me. I really didn't want to waste my time and energy on her. I counted to 5 in my head, and just then the elevator door pinged open and a platoon of policemen marched towards us. "That's her." I pointed at the woman in front of me, who was now looking terrified, seeing a pause of cops surrounded her. "Mr. Park, I am really sorry. Please don't do this." Now we were talking. She really thought she could get away after talking crap about my wife. I paused as I realized what I had been thinking. "Mr. Park, please." I paid no heed to her pleadings and walked inside my cabin, my mind preoccupied by her thoughts. As much as I didn't want to think about her, an invisible force was drawing my attention back to her. I was aimlessly staring at the ceiling, lost in my thoughts. I didn't even know what's wrong with me. I never wasted a moment doing nothing, but nowadays I was doing everything but utilizing my time and working. Just like now, I had been sitting idly on my chair with a lot of files scattered across my table. My attention diverted to the entrance of my cabin, which burst open and someone walked inside. I sighed as I looked at the intruder, who was none other than my only friend, my best friend, Taeyong, the only person who understands me without me saying anything to him. "Why did you call me here?" he spoke as he settled himself on a chair across my desk. I exhaled and sat upright. "I need a new secretary." "Okay, and what does this have to do with me?" "Find me a new secretary, and please find a man this time." I rolled my eyes when he threw a tight lipped smile at me. "What am I, your manager? That I'll find a new secretary, and that to a man, every now and then." He threw a pen at me, which I dozed off successfully. I sighed and looked away. I stayed outside through the big glass window. "Did something happen? You won't call me here just to tell me this. Is something bothering you? Is it related to Ryan? There goes my soulmate." I don't know what is happening with me. I can't focus on my work. She she's always on my mind, and after what happened today, my mind is messed up. I am messed up. I blurted out, which I had been holding inside me. "Can you elaborate? I'm confused. What happened today?" I sighed and turned to him. I told him everything from the beginning to the end, from my words to my feelings, from emotions to the commotion inside me, and he heard, like a good listener he is, without interrupting. I sucked a deep breath after explaining everything. I observed as he hummed and nodded. A thick and heavy silence hung in air as I waited for him to speak. "So," he began after a short period of silence, "you defended Wine." I nodded. "Why?" "What why? Of course, because she is my wife." I replied. Only because she is your wife, you don't feel anything for her? I hesitantly nodded. So you mean you are all worked up, you are disturbed, wine is all over your mind, and you don't feel anything for her? He raised his eyebrows, giving me an amused look. Didn't you feel anything when she ran away from you? Didn't her tears affect you in any way? His words arose a turmoil of emotions inside me. I grappled with my thoughts, searching for an answer. I didn't like it. It felt weird. It's like I was drowning in a deep ocean and was asked to breathe. Okay, then why are you avoiding her if every little thing about her affects you? He probed. I became quiet. Your marriage was a business arrangement, but it's up to you if you wanted to end it as a business arrangement or turn it into forever. He sighed and continued. I know, Jimin, where your thoughts are going. You are avoiding her because you don't want to experience the same as your father. But you are not your father. You are different. Your relationship is different. Wine is different. I stared at him as he continued. You are misled by your father, and because of that, you are missing something beautiful. You are hurting Ryan. The tears that affected you, you were the reason for those. You think ignoring her will do something good for you or her, then you are wrong. How long do you think you can keep up with your relationship by avoiding your wife? Every story is not same. Every relationship is not same because every person is not same. There is still time. Get a hold on your marriage life. It may started with the deal, but do not let it end in a worst way, lest you regret later why you didn't try. Anyways, I leave now. I'll call you once I'll find a suitable secretary for you. With that, he disappeared through the door, leaving me with upteamed thoughts. The next few hours I spent fighting against the turbulence within me. I came home earlier than usual. It's 9 when I usually came back around 2 or 3 in the morning. I placed my laptop back on the couch. I sighed as my stomach grumbled due to hunger. I was starving as I skipped my lunch. I lost my appetite after that incident. Keeping every thought aside, I made my way towards the kitchen to find something to satisfy my hunger. I rummaged through the kitchen to find something to eat. Jimin, I stopped and looked at Maria, who was looking surprised. You are early today. She smiled at me. Yes, auntie. My lips curved upward in a small smile. What are you looking for? I am hungry. I scratched the back of my head. She chuckled and stepped towards me. Go and sit there. I'll prepare something for you really quick. She pointed at the dining table. I nodded and did as she said. Here you go. She placed a plate of hot, sizzling pasta in front of me and sat down beside me. I started eating while she smiled, watching me eat. You have all grown up now. I still remember a small Jimin whining to read him a bedtime story. She spoke. I had raised you since you were 5. I remember everything about your childhood, and I'm so proud that you turned into a fine man. You are a great businessman, but she paused. I stopped eating and looked at her. You become what your father wanted, a robot, a money making robot. You are not my Jimin anymore, who used to value every small happiness. I saw a look of disappointed overtaking her features. Sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. She smiled sadly and left after patting my shoulder. Her words put a heavy weight on my mind. I repeated the same in my head once, twice, upteenth time until I was overwhelmed with the fear of someone turning into a memory. I hastily finished my dinner and made my way towards my room, our room. I saw my wife sleeping peacefully. I stared at her face for a moment and went inside the closet to change my clothes. I came out of the closet wearing my pajamas. I went to my side of the bed and quietly lay down. I waited for Wine to hug me like she does every night. She probably thought that I did sleep beside her, but only if she knew. She used me as her cuddle plushie every night. I frowned when, even after more than 15 minutes, she didn't turn around and hugged me. I shifted a little towards her, closed my eyes, and waited to be crushed in her arms, but nothing happened. I sighed and decided to sleep. Tossing and turning for half an hour, I sat upright, frustrated as I couldn't sleep. I peeked towards her only to find her hugging a pillow. I poked my cheek with my tongue. I slowly pulled the pillow out of her grip and threw it on the floor. I lay down and counted to 15 in my head until she turned around and threw her arms and legs on me. I smiled as she snuggled closer to me. Finally, after fighting a battle with myself whole day, I slept peacefully in her arms with a clear mind and clear about what I wanted and what I had to do. I groaned as I felt the warmth of daylight directly at my face. I didn't want to wake up. I was too comfortable hugging a soft and warm thing. I never knew my pillow was that much comfortable. I snuggled more into my pillow. I frowned when I felt something hard against my face. I lazily opened my eyes and found myself burying my face in someone's hard, muscular chest. I lifted my gaze to find my husband, who was sleeping peacefully, crushing me in his arms. My pupils dilated in shock. It felt like a dream until he put his leg on my thighs. I barely controlled myself from screaming. My breathing quickened as I slowly freed myself from his grip. I gaped at his sleeping frame and ran inside the bathroom. I was hiding in the kitchen ever since I left him sleeping in the room. I didn't want to have any interaction with him, not after what happened the previous day. When can you give this coffee to Jimin? She asked me, pouring the freshly brewed coffee in a cup. I hastily grabbed a knife and an egg which was placed nearby. I'm busy, auntie. I watched as she knitted her brows and gazed at me. Busy with what? I'm cutting eggs. I held the egg on the kitchen counter and put knife on it. I noticed her looking at me, then at my hands and back at me. Without saying anything, she grabbed the cup and walked towards her room. I let out a sigh of relief as I put the knife down. Then I realized how stupid I looked while trying to cut a raw egg with a knife. When Jimin is calling you upstairs, she spoke as soon as she came back in the kitchen. My eyes widened as I processed what she said. I gulped and looked around to find another excuse to avoid going in front of him. I grabbed a kitchen towel, opened a cabinet, and started cleaning the dishes. Maria looked at me weirdly. What are you doing? She asked, perplexed by my actions. I am cleaning, I shuddered. She shook her head and got back with preparing breakfast. I was done cleaning one cabinet. As I opened the other cabinet, I heard him calling out for me. Wine. I gulped and continued with whatever I was doing, purposely ignoring him. I noticed Maria leaving the kitchen and I knew he was standing behind me. Why didn't you come? I heard his voice getting nearer and nearer. I was busy, I replied in monotone. Busy in cleaning the already cleaned dishes. I paused as I heard him beside me. I didn't reply and carried on rubbing the white plate with the towel. I tilted my head towards him as he gently held my hand and put the plate and towel down. Come with me. He intertwined his hand with mine and lazily dragged me out of the kitchen. He brought her to the garden. Sit here. He made her sit on the swing and sat beside her. They sat there in silence. Wyan looked everywhere but him while Jimin searched for words to begin a conversation. He cleared his throat. My parents, he commenced, gazing ahead. My parents had a love marriage. That time, my father was not rich. He used to work two jobs to pay the bills. A year after their marriage, they had me. After I turned a year old, my parents started having arguments, and the reason was money. My mother wanted a luxurious life, which wasn't possible with my father's earning. The small arguments turned into big fights with time until one day he trailed off. Till now, Ryan's whole attention was on him. My father caught my mother cheating on him with a rich man who was twice her age. They had a big fight, which eventually led to their divorce. I was probably 3 at that time, but I still remember thrashing in my father's hole to go to my mother, who turned her back at me and went away with her rich lover. He paused and gulped as if he was trying to drink in his pain. After that day, my father started working more harder than before, and in just 2 years, he became a successful and rich businessman. But he was just a businessman. My father died that day. He only taught me one thing, that love is not enough. Money and power is what people live for. Love only leaves you with a shattered hopes and a broken heart. He taught me great business skills. He taught me to control my emotions. My every word, every move should be calculative. I can't lose my hard exterior and let other people walk over me. My first aim should be leading the business to great heights and making money. If I'll dare to love, I'll end up like him, heartbroken. He craned his neck towards her, gazing at her. I never wanted to marry Ryan, but he forced me, telling me it's for the benefit of our company. The deal was important for him, but that day also he said love is not enough. Love will never be enough. He warned me beforehand, it was all for a deal. But when I first saw you at your house, I knew I'm going to do the exact opposite what my father had taught me till now. That's the reason I had avoided coming in front of you. I was not ignoring you, I was stopping myself from committing something forbidden. Wine was still processing whatever he had blurted out. Indeed, love is not enough. Trust, respect, and most important, communication are also requisite. Love is not enough when it's one sided, it requires equal efforts from both sides. Jimin, my mother passed away while giving birth to me. My father loved her unconditionally that he blamed me for her death. I was just a responsibility for him. He never spent time with me or took me on picnics like other parents do. And when I chose to study fashion and arts over business, he completely shut me off from his life. He married me off to you because this was his way to make me pay back for whatever he did for me till now. I don't want to be treated as a responsibility, but I exactly felt I won. However, I always admired the eternal love my father had for my mother. It's magical. I used to think that I'll be the luckiest if someone loves me 1% of it, she uttered. They both stared at each other in silence. Is it too late to start over? He asked after a long pause. Vine blinked her eyes, surprised. Why? What made you change your mind suddenly? You. You changed my mind. You are an invisible force that always draws me towards yourself. It's so hard to put in words what I feel about you. It's different, and I like it, he murmured. And what if I don't want to start over now, suddenly after 2 months? What if we would be back on square one? What if we don't work out together? What if he put his finger on her lips, stopping her from speaking further? You yourself said a relationship needs equal efforts from both sides. I am ready to give my 100%. Are you? He asked. She stared at him with uncertainty. We both lack somewhere. You avoided me, but I also didn't confront you for your behavior. If you are ready to work on us, I am ready too. Her lips twisted into a small smile. He mirrored her expression. Life is not a cakewalk. It's full of problems, and we will have conflicts in future, but it will always you and I against the problem, not the other way around. I promise you that. We can't go back to change the beginning, but we can start where we are and change our ending.